bottom side of this connector, you want to squeeze the tab, press it in, grab the connector, and remove that. Next, use a 8mm socket and extension. Grab the sensor, gently wiggle that out. It's just held in by an O-ring. At the base of this vacuum hose, there is a red retainer clip. We're going to use the back side of our pick, apply some downward pressure, and pull up on the vacuum. Pop that off and set it aside. Remove this 10mm nut right here on the throttle cable bracket. When we remove it and slide the bracket off, remove the back bracket nut. Slide the bracket off, remove the nuts holding the coolant tube brackets. On the bottom side of this hose, there is a little tab poking out. You want to get underneath it with a small pick and push that away or towards the driver's side. And when you're doing so, you want to work the hose off like so. Just disconnect that, set it aside. I'm going to go ahead and remove our ignition coil harness off of the studs here. Just work those off. Go ahead and remove the ignition coil connectors. Remove the 8mm retainer nuts for the ignition coils. Grab your ignition coils, gently work those out. Pull off the harness off the back stud right here, and I'm going to go to the center boot right here. We're going to use a plastic trim tool remover and just pop that up, and there is a connector inside. You can use a small pick to get in there, press in on that tab and pull the connector up. Work that off like so. Remove this connector here, press down on the tab, wiggle that off. Go ahead and grab this harness right here. You want to pull it up, and you're just releasing the plastic harness connectors off of the studs. Just push that aside. Next, remove this 10mm nut. Pull up on that bracket. I'm going to rotate that up to the side. On the passenger side, we're going to remove the 3 8mm studs right here. One there. One there. And one right here. Remove the rest of the 8mm studs around the perimeter. And we have 2 in the middle here. I'm going to go ahead and grab the back corner here of the valve cover and just gently tug up. Go ahead and remove the valve cover. Pop that off. And we'll go ahead and reinstall that on the new valve cover. Now we applied a light coating of engine oil to the O-ring seal before we install this. Just line that up, press it into place, install our 8mm bolt, and we'll snug that down. And go ahead and install our main seal. Just basically going to insert that into the groove in the valve cover. If you have it lined up properly, it should just about fall into place. You shouldn't have to stretch the gasket. If it's not lining up, the gasket is positioned incorrectly. Now for your spark plug gaskets here, line that up. These fresh seals will keep the engine oil from getting into the spark plug tubes. Now I'm just going to take a clean cloth or towel and we're going to clean the perimeter of where the valve cover gasket is going to sit. I want to make sure not to drag any of that dirt into the engine, so make sure as you're wiping, you're pulling it away. And do this all the way around the perimeter. Then you want to go ahead and clean the center ports here around the spark plug tubes. Let's go ahead and install our valve cover here. I'm going to work over on the left-hand side first. Lower that down into place. And then work over to the driver's side here, lower this down. Every single one of these bolts we want to start by hand. So go around the entire perimeter, make sure you get them started by hand. Go ahead and install your bracket. Now I want to go ahead and torque all these bolts down to 7.4 foot-pounds or 89 inch-pounds. There is a particular pattern. Starting on the inside bolts, I'm going to come across to the other one in the center. I'm going to come out to the outside, one right up above here. And our pattern will continue to this one. We'll come across to this one here. This bolt right here. They want to come out to the outboard bolt here. They want to come across and we'll pretty much work our perimeter all the way around from the inside out. We'll go ahead and install our harness retainer tabs, push these down on top of the studs, line up the back one, push that down, line those into place, install our coolant tube bracket, put the nut on, snug it down, and repeat for the other bracket. Let's go ahead and bring our harness around. Let's go ahead and install this sensor connector right here to the center. Line that up, press the connector down. You hear it click, and we'll install the rubber boot into the valve cover. Go ahead and drop in your ignition coils. Get all 4 studs started. Go ahead and snug these down. Going to install our harness retainer clips right here. And then we can install our ignition coil harness connectors. Install this connector. Hear it click. And we're going to install our cam sensor harness connector right here. And that'll clip in. Install our rear connector on the back. There's just a vacuum tube. Line that up. Press that on. And you hear that click into place. Now you want to go ahead and reinstall your throttle cable brackets. Simply install the brackets. Put the nut back on. Snug it down and repeat for the other bracket. Go ahead and take your vacuum hose, line that up, push that in, and that should lock itself into place. Apply a light coat of engine oil to the O-ring to help that slide in. Line up the sensor, pop that in, line up your 8mm bolt. Go ahead and snug that bolt down. Reconnect your connector. I'm going to torque our cam sensor bolt down to 62 inch-pounds.